Welcome to Watch, Review, Repeat. This is the podcast where two best friends discuss the latest in film and television and then do it all over again the following week. My name is Colton Brown, and joining me is Andrew Meadows.
How we doing, man?
I'm having some fun. From what I understand, you're not having the greatest time of your life, but...
No, definitely feeling a bit under the weather. But we're here. We're doing it. Doing it live.
Yeah, we're doing it live. No, I say, it's a big episode for us. This is episode 50, episode 50. I feel like that's a pretty solid milestone, and to celebrate the occasion with us, we have not one, but two guests joining us today. So, first of all, we'd like to welcome back to the show Mr. Henrique Jaime. How you doing, Henry?
Hey, guys. What's up? Congrats on 50 episodes. That's a lot. And
it's not bad.
I've been listening to them all, so, glad to see that you made it this far and excited to see what you got planned for the future.
Yeah, we appreciate your support, and we always enjoy having you on. And we have a first-time appearance from Dalton Brown. My brother is joining us today. How are you doing, Dalton?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me on here. And congrats on the episode 50. I've been listening to all of them. Well, I'm a few episodes behind, but I've listened to most of them. So.
Thanks for the listens, guys.
Yeah, that's
really
right.
Appreciate it.
Honesty is the best policy, so not always, but as a general principle, sure. So we've got good things in store for this episode. We're talking ants, Ant-Man, and the Wasp. Can't forget about the Wasp. She's very important. So I think last time we recorded was on the masterpiece that Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom was. I think at the end of that episode we mentioned that Sicario Day of the Soldado was going to be our next episode. And since we're running so behind, and since it's kind of, it's a milestone episode, we kind of wanted to do something that would be a little bit more naturally inviting for having a bigger panel to join us. So Ant-Man and the Wasp is this episode. I haven't seen Sicario. Actually, as far as I know, no one here has actually seen it yet. Mm-mm. But we do intend to see it. Whether or not we get a chance to do a full episode on it, that kind of remains to be seen. But at some point, we will fold it into the conversation. Just, at least as far as I'm concerned, not on this episode. Before we get going into the news, just a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, Indiana Jones franchise episode is now available to all listeners. Some of you may have already listened to it by the time this comes out, which is cool. It was a fun one. It was our fourth bonus episode that we did for our Patreon subscribers. And speaking of bonus episodes, our fifth bonus episode is currently available as a timed exclusive on Patreon, and that is covering the Mission Impossible franchise, starring the cruise missile. We were preparing for Mission Impossible Fallout, which will be coming out later in July, and that was a really fun episode.
Yeah, I really enjoyed recording that one. I enjoyed watching them, and recording it was a blast.
Yeah, even the bad that in that franchise was still enjoyable, if nothing else, to talk about. And I feel like it made for a very nice episode. So if anyone has listened to that, that's awesome. But for those of you listening on the regular feed, you can just help us out on Patreon. It's $2 a month, and what happens with that is you get access to our bonus episodes, and you get early access to all of our regular episodes. So just head to watchreviewrepeat.com. It's our website. Go to the premium tab, and then click the Become a Patron button, and you'll be all set. You'll have access to that bonus episode and some other goodies. That's pretty much it. Andrew has bowed out of giving a fun fact this week. He's a little under the weather. He said, "You know what? We're just going to do it live," and I respect that decision. But it's episode 50. We've got to have a fun fact. I mean, I feel like we'd be missing a very, very crucial part of this podcast if we didn't have a fun fact. So my fun fact is going to be Ant-Man and the Wasp related, of course. We always try to keep it topical, or I should say Andrew tries to keep it topical because it's an easy way, and it's a good way of doing things. It keeps everything nice and focused. So my fun fact is that Ant-Man and the Wasp are actually members of the original Avengers team. They made their appearance in Avengers #1 as founding members of the Avengers. So I'm just giving this fun fact off the cuff, so I could probably give a little bit more detail had I looked it up, but that's just swirling around in my brain. It's the first thing that came to mind when Andrew said, I'm good. I don't have anything lined up this week, so that's what I got.
And this is
You heard it here first.
This is the Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne versions, right?
Correct, yeah. So Hank Pym, Janet Van Dyne, of course, are kind of the first Ant-Man and the Wasp in the MCU, but they're not the kind of focus. They're not the titular Ant-Man and the Wasp. That is Scott Lang and Hope Van Dyne. So things are a little bit different in the comics, obviously. But I guess I can elaborate on that a little bit. Basically, Ant-Man was a project that was in gestation for like 10 years, going back almost as far as the first Iron Man. So when Avengers rolls around in 2012, 4 years after the first Iron Man, they're still intending to make an Ant-Man movie. So it was kind of a weird situation where they didn't want to put them, Ant-Man or the Wasp, into an Avengers movie without having kind of properly introduced them in their own movie that was still in active development at that point. So I think that's probably why they've kind of taken a backseat until Ant-Man 1 finally comes out, and then now we have its sequel, Ant-Man and the Wasp. So that's pretty cool. I hope you guys enjoyed that fun fact. It's kind of fun telling fun facts. I kind of see the appeal here. We're going to get into the news right now. And the first bit of news we have, it's actually a lot of movie news as a side note, but the first bit of news we have is concerning another cruise missile vehicle. Top Gun Maverick, of course, a sequel to the 1986 classic Top Gun. It is bringing back Tom Cruise, of course, as Maverick, and Val Kilmer will also be joining him as Iceman. And now we've learned that Miles Teller is going to be playing the son of Goose, who met a tragic end in the first one. Sorry for those who haven't watched it.
I haven't seen it before. I think I've missed I think spoilers probably fair game, though. It's fairly old.
Yeah. I think you're usually the one giving me shit when I'm like, this movie is 50 years old. Spoilers. It's an interesting casting. I'm kind of indifferent on Miles Teller. I think he's a very talented actor, but hopefully he has his eyebrows ready for this, because I know that's going to be a big sticking point for Andrew otherwise.
Yeah, dye that shit blonde. I don't want to see him.
Well, and the thing about this is it's actually going to be directed by Joseph Kosinski, who did, in fact, direct Only the Brave. So it's a real concern to be had.
Oh, God. You can't make it up.
It's pretty good, though. I'm very curious about this. On the Mission Impossible episode, spoilers for that episode, I know I talked about how much of a fan I am of Tom Cruise, the actor. So I'm looking forward to this. Definitely excited to see what he has in store. And any other thoughts on Top Gun Maverick while we're on the subject?
I mean, I want to see a trailer, and then I guess I'll see how I really feel about the movie in general.
I think it's a interesting casting choice, but I know there's a big kick for nostalgia and things coming back. I don't know if this one was necessary, but I guess we'll have to wait and see with the trailer and kind of see where they're going with it.
Well, that's a pretty standard watch, review, repeat policy. We'll wait and see, right?
We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. That's what it is. Yeah. I mean, as long as they bring back some Kenny Loggins, some Highway to the Danger Zone, I'm all in, baby. Let's move on. Actually, a two-part piece of news. Actually, we got a few two-parters here. This is the first of those, and that is concerning a movie by the name of Hobbs and Shaw, which I think Andrew and I talked about maybe a few months back. It is the Fast and Furious spinoff that will star the likes of The Rock as Hobbs and Jason Statham as Shaw. So it's
Hobbs and Shaw.
It's a good name. I mean, you can't beat that, really. But the casting here, first of which is Vanessa Kirby, who I'm not very familiar with. She has a pretty big role on Netflix's The Crown. I'm reading here, and more relevant to our experiences in the future, she is in Mission Impossible Fallout. So we'll get a good look at her acting chops in that one in just a few weeks' time. And then we'll see her again in Hobbs and Shaw. I'd say more exciting part of this is that Idris Elba has also joined the cast, and he is reportedly going to be playing the villain in this. So let me see if they have some more details on kind of what he would actually be doing in this. He's listed as an antagonist. I don't really see much details on that, but he has played a villain before, and he's an excellent actor, as I would think everyone here would agree.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they might get kicked off right now. Look, I'm not opposed to it. But Hobbs and Shaw, again, there's going to be a lot of this, as just to let our listeners know. There's a lot of people here to manage, so I'm trying to open up the floor for discussion and not dominate the mic as much, or at least kind of give everyone a fair shake at saying their piece, because I will sit here and talk by myself for 3 hours if you let me. But I'm actively trying to avoid that, outside of explaining that I'm actively trying to avoid that. So Hobbs and Shaw, what thoughts do we have on that?
I like the name, Hobbs and Shaw. I like Idris Elba. I like Mr. Elba as well.
No, I like me some Idris Elba. So don't kick me off the podcast, please. But I think I'm 2 movies behind on the franchise. So I don't even know what the latest events are.
No, I think we should probably do a Fast and Furious bonus episode before Hobbs and Shaw, or whatever the next movie is for the series. I think that'd be a fun thing, because I think I don't know, they've all bled together. I don't know which one I've seen.
Well, they're all very samey, and it doesn't really matter. I mean, there's loose continuity between them, but like it doesn't matter. Like Jason Statham's a bad guy and he like murders half the team, but then he's teaming up with The Rock like in the next movie. So really, who gives a shit? They're good, they're fun, but they've gotten increasingly outlandish to the point where it's just like, yeah, I mean, look, all bets are off with these things. But they are fun, I guess. I'm down for a bonus episode. Yeah, Hobbs and Shaw I think is actually the next one. I think that they pushed back the next actual proper Fast and Furious entry to get the Hobbs and Shaw project out before it. So,
I mean, I'm 1 movie behind Fast and Furious. So, but I mean, I think once you've seen 1, you've kind of seen them all. I'm not familiar with Vanessa, Kirby. I haven't seen The Crown. Obviously, Idris Elba is, he makes it a lot more interesting to kind of see where they're going to take that role. So, I mean, I might see it. So.
All right, fair enough. Let's move on to Star Wars. It's definitely Andrew and I's favorite topic, because we've talked at length about many a Star War. Very exciting news as far as Star Wars is concerned. These are both concerning Star Wars Episode 9. The forthcoming Episode 9 will be out December of 2019, so it's about a year and a half away. J.J. Abrams is returning to the director chair, and we're getting some casting news for it. First of which is a new addition to the entire Star Wars franchise, and that would be Keri Russell, who I think most recently has spent about 5 or 6 years on FX's The Americans, which I've heard amazing things about. Andrew and I watched her very recently in Mission Impossible 3.
Leggy Bay?
No, she's. I think she's Agent Bay. I think there's
Agent Bay. Yes.
Yeah, she's the one that gets her head exploded. Also, Mission Impossible 3 spoilers.
That's in the beginning. It's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. Also, it came out in 2006, so also fine.
Leggy Bay wasn't 3. I'm sorry. I'm getting them all distracted. No, I'm sorry.
It's fine. The role apparently calls for action-heavy fight scenes, so that's interesting. Maybe some lightsaber action would be cool. But I don't know. I think it's exciting. I mean, J.J. Abrams, of course, directed Mission Impossible 3, so there's obviously some previous collaboration between the two, so it's cool to see him bringing her back for a movie, that'll be released 13 years later, so... Yeah, I think that's quite cool. And what's this next piece of news here? Hello, what have we here?
Lando!
Billy D. Williams will be returning as Lando Calrissian for Episode 9 as well. Very exciting news. Of course, we saw a young iteration of Lando in Solo: A Star Wars Story, as portrayed by Donald Glover. So it seems like a good time. You know, he's in the forefront of the franchise, and I think everyone's been kind of really itching for Lando to come back. It seems like a JJ kind of move to say, hey, what's a good way to win fans back over so they can stop their stupid Last Jedi remake? Let's bring Lando back for Episode 9. Sorry, Lucasfilm, everything's okay. Well, what do you guys think? Keri Russell, Billy D. Williams coming back, Star Wars.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Happy.
Yes, I feel the same. I mean, Lando's a classic character. I think fans have been wondering when he's coming back. And Keri Russell, I mean, I think of her as Felicity for the most part. So I think she's a good addition. Well, she can act. I've seen a few episodes of The Americans, and she does well there. Yeah,
I'm super down for Lando. I want a couple more people coming back, but that would get into Rebels spoilers, so I will not mention who I would like to be back. So.
Maybe we can have a Star Wars Rebels, maybe a Star Wars Rebels bonus episode sometime down the future. Yeah, I'd have to watch it first, mind you, but
yeah,
that might be good motivation.
You could do it. You could binge it.
Yeah, that's just a thought. We're going to move on to Andrew's favorite movie of 2019. Calling it now, DC's Shazam. No, nothing. We got an official look at Zachary Levi in costume. So we've seen the costume before in the form of set photos, but this is the first actual officially released look at it, and it's very bright.
I'm looking that up right now.
It it still looks very Jingle All the Way. I will say that now. I don't think you'll be inclined to disagree. I'm Turbo Man.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with your call. This might be the best one DC puts out yet.
Yeah, they're definitely striking a very different tone. Like, it is very much, at least from what I can tell, a case of, okay, these guys don't like dark, we'll give them the most lighthearted shit in the world. Like, all right, well,
yeah, until it hits the editing room.
Yeah. I say they'll slap some filters on it. Everything will be good. But the picture, I don't know. It's fun. It's him hanging out at a convenience store with one of his friends, as Billy Batson, one of Billy Batson's friends, I guess. And it's fun imagery. He's drinking a cola. He's an adult kid, I guess, basically. So I don't know. It could be something, but it is DC, so we always have to be wary.
Yeah, I think if they're gonna do well, they can't half-ass it and do this like dark but like quippy, jokey thing like Justice League was. Where if they go all the way with this, it could be fun and it could be good. So there's a little bit of hope there.
Is this supposed to be a standalone, or is it part of the other DC series like Aquaman and Justice League?
I think it's technically part of the universe, but I don't think it's all that concerned with creating like very obvious, tangible connections. So I think like they're doing the Elseworlds Joker with Joaquin Phoenix, and that's like straight up like not part of the DC universe. Jared Leto's our Joker because he's the greatest. I think this one's part of it, but it's yeah. I think the intent, and maybe their intent going forward is, hey, we tried rushing the whole team up thing. Didn't work out so well for us. Maybe let's go back to square one. Maybe try the approach of getting the characters and their movies right, and then maybe we'll think about that thing again. We'll see.
Who knows, man? You can never figure DC out what they're doing over there.
They are a bit of an enigma. Yes, Mr. Edward Nigma. It's a little Batman Forever joke for you.
I see what you did there.
Second bit of Shazam news this week, actually. Djimon Hounsou apparently is in the cast as the wizard, the 3,000-year-old wizard who gives young Billy Batson his powers to become Shazam. So
that's cool.
Yeah, great actor. He is one of the select few that is transcending the comic book rivalry lines. He was Korath the Pursuer in Guardians of the Galaxy. He's going to be reprising that role in the forthcoming Captain Marvel, which that's confusing as well because Shazam is also Captain Marvel, so he's actually he's got to be he will be in both Captain Marvels, if you will. So that's actually a pretty cool distinction. I'm not going to lie, but moreover, he's also going to be in Aquaman as a completely different character.
What?
He's playing like a merman. So I think it's like a CG character. So I don't know if he did mocap on it or exactly how it was, but this I mean he's gunning for that most roles in a comic book film. I think he might be outstripping Josh Brolin at this point. Maybe. I think Brolin's got he's got Thanos, of course. He's got Cable, and let's not forget about Jonah Hex back in the day as well. So that's a good one too. Yeah. Can't forget about Jonah Hex. Anyway, good for him. Good actor. So if you're gonna cast an actor in like 17 roles, might as well pick a good one. So there you go.
I totally read his first name is Djimon.
Well, I don't think it's pronounced that way. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. I don't think I'm wrong on that. But
we can move forward.
yeah, okay. I was going to say that sounds like a good... all right, time to move on then. Neill Blomkamp has a project lined up by the name of RoboCop Returns.
That's good stuff. I like
this,
that.
As you might expect, is a RoboCop movie. It is actually going to be a sequel to the first Paul Verhoeven 1987 film, which it's interesting. Seems like maybe that's a trend. Like I think the Halloween movie is kind of doing the same thing of, the sequels kind of sucked ass. Let's just throw them in the bin and we'll just do a straight up sequel to the first one and it'll be cool. Maybe it'll be cool. For me, Neill Blomkamp has definitely been a one-trick pony. Like, I love District 9. I think it's an amazing film, but I think that Elysium was crap, and I thought that Chappie has its defenders. I don't understand it. I think it's crap. I think it's real, like, just complete trash, but that's one man's hot take. So, RoboCop Returns. How do you guys feel about this? The movie itself, maybe, and then Blomkamp's involvement.
I think the only RoboCop that I ever saw was the one with the bipedal, like, Metal Gear robot. You know what I'm talking about?
That's RoboCop 2, I think.
Was that RoboCop 2? I'm not I don't know a lot about the RoboCop series.
I think like the drug lord gets like killed and they take his consciousness and like they put it in a robot and he's fueled by like the street drug. I mean, it's sad that I know this, but
that sounds amazing. I think I need to watch it.
There's a reason why they're not counting that as a sequel. So.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
The first one's a lot of fun. It's got like you sort of watch Starship Troopers. That's the same director that did the first RoboCop.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Verhoeven. Yeah. So it's got kind of that super over the top violence. But it also kind of has satirical elements to it, and the first one's really good. There's no word on whether Peter Weller was the actor who played RoboCop in the first two, and I think he elected to not return for the third one, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think there's any word on whether he's going to come back, but I feel like you got to bring him back personally, unless they're trying to set it like a year after the first one. His whole face is pretty much covered anyway. His mouth area probably looks the same. It doesn't matter. Anyway, any other thoughts? RoboCop Returns.
They made that badass RoboCop, that new one, right?
Yeah. So I guess remake, reboot, something along those lines. That one was not good.
It was not good.
It's not good. But it had Joel Kinnaman. Good old Rick Flag. She's got my back.
Had Gary Oldman.
Yeah.
Samuel
I think
Jackson.
I think Michael Keaton was in it as well. It was actually a fairly good cast, but it was. I've seen worse. I think like the Total Recall remake or reboot or whatever that was supposed to be, it was definitely worse. As a example that comes to mind more immediately, there's a reason that one did not get a sequel. Abby Cornish, I think she might have been in that. It doesn't matter. It sucks. It's now forgotten. They're going back to the original. Back to formula.
All right.
So, all right. We got our lone movie trailer this week in the form of Mary, Queen of Scots, which period piece stars Saoirse Ronan and Margot Robbie principally. And it's based on a biography called My Heart Is My Own, The Life of Mary, Queen of Scots. I don't think we've ever have we talked about like a period piece on this podcast? Like anything along this line?
I don't think so.
So what do we think about it?
I thought it looked. This is gonna sound bad. Was it? I think it was Margaret Robbie. Is that her name?
Margot Robbie.
Yeah. Is she the one that looked like the? There was one of the girls, and she almost looked like straight out of Alice in Wonderland.
The Red Queen, right? Alice in Wonderland. That's exactly what I told Colton.
It's like I don't know. I find that really distracting. So yeah, I couldn't. I was very much distracted by Alice in Wonderland's Red. Was it the Red Queen? Is that what she's called?
Yeah, that's the Red Queen.
Yeah, I was distracted by that.
Was it Helena Bonham Carter's character in the Alice movies? Yeah, it's the movie. It's I will say that I guess these types of movies don't they're not the types of trailers that get me like, oh my god, I'm stoked for this. Like this is making me like, I can't wait for this. But at the same time, it's a movie that I would definitely be interested to watch, and it's a good cast, definitely. So it's one that I'd be willing to give it a chance when it does come out. Which, speaking of that, let me tell you when it does come out. I think I closed the window. I apologize. 7 December 2018. There you go.
All right.
So later this year. Yeah. All right. Last couple things for movie news this week. Black Widow. Of course, another Marvel Studios property. We knew that they were developing a script for it. I think they hired Jacques Schaefer a while back to pen a draft for a screenplay, and it's found a director now. So it hasn't been officially announced, per Marvel Studios, per the Marvel website, but this is coming from the Hollywood Reporter. So it's they're a trade that's very reputable. Cate Shortland is going to be the director on this. She's Australian. Says she's best known for the Nazi drama Lore, which I'm not sure if you guys know anything about.
What's it called?
Lore.
No, I don't know about
Lore.
that one.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with it myself, but clearly Marvel found something that they wanted. They met with over 70 directors, and this is the end result. They found Cate Shortland and said that's who we want. Scarlett Johansson, of course, will be coming back to reprise the role of Natasha Romanoff, and it's apparently going to be set before the events. It says the events of the first Avengers movie. I wonder if it means like straight up before even her first appearance in Iron Man 2, or if it's going to be somewhere in that period where it's between Iron Man 2 and Avengers. I would think that if you're going to do a prequel, you'd probably just set it way out in front. Maybe you can kind of deal more with her past, maybe some entanglements with the Winter Soldier, or a certain character from Ant-Man and the Wasp, perhaps. But yeah, I mean, Black Widow, it's happening. What do you guys think about it?
Yeah, I hope it's her in Russia kind of before we even meet her, prequel type thing. And I also...
Like it ends with her getting picked up by Fury. That'd be cool.
Yeah, something like that, where it ties it all together. And I'm not familiar with the director, but, knowing Marvel, I feel like they hire people because of their vision for a specific piece. So I have confidence in pretty much all their picks at this point. So I think, this could be a very exciting movie. And people have wanted a Black Widow film for a while, and you would think she would be the first female Marvel character getting her own solo movie, but it took a little while, so I guess what happened after Captain Marvel, but it looks like it's finally happening, which is cool.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the director either, but Marvel has a pretty good track record of picking directors and making it work, so definitely on board.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. And the last bit of movie news. Zombieland getting a sequel. At long last, I would argue. It's been since 2009 when the first Zombieland came out. And everyone's coming back for it. Emma Stone, Woody Harrelson and his Twinkies, Jesse Eisenberg, and Abigail Breslin. And Ruben Fleischer, the director, will also return. He's currently busy helming that excellent film called Venom for Sony Pictures.
Oh, boy.
I shouldn't have mentioned that. No, we might get a little off track. But in addition, Paul Wernick and Rhett Reese, the writers of the original, are also going to be back. And they found some work in the interim. They've written a couple of movies by the name of Deadpool and Deadpool 2, so that's good. It's finally happening. I'm a big fan of the first Zombieland. In case you guys couldn't gather that already, I guess it would have come out when all of us except for Dalton, because he's a little bit older, were in high school. So it's kind of in that time that I think it really kind of had strong appeal at that time. And that was also before zombies kind of ran into the ground again. I guess it's somewhat of a pun buried in there if you want to. Even the word bury. Whatever. But what do you guys, do you guys have any sort of reverence for the original?
Yeah, of course.
Does this excite you?
Yeah, I didn't see it coming, but maybe I should have. I can't remember how the last one ended. But I remember really enjoying Zombieland. That and Shaun of the Dead, I think. I think both of those were exceptional movies. But Zombieland was good. I enjoyed... I'm a big Woody Harrelson fan, so if he's in it, I'm all for it. And Emma Stone, she's pretty cool. Like her, too. And Jesse Eisenberg, he's cool, too. Not cool, but he's cool. He's all right.
The first one's good stuff.
Powerhouse performance in Batman v Superman as a side note, but
yeah, true. No, the first one's good. I like it. I also didn't see a sequel coming, but if they can kind of match the tone and humor of the first one, then I'm definitely in on it.
Weren't they doing a Zombieland TV show at one point, or did that never happened? Or
I think that there was a TV show in the works at some point. And I don't know if they released like the script or if maybe the pilot, like Amazon will sometimes put out like a pilot, and then if it gets a good reception, they'll say, all right, well, we're going to bring this to series. So I'm not sure exactly what the full story was with it, but I do know that whatever they put out, fans were like, yeah, this is trash. So I think that's kind of why that project never, achieved liftoff, I guess. So, but this one, appears to be well on its way. I don't think the TV show would have had the cast involved or anything like that. So I think maybe that was a sticking point too, is, hey, we want to follow the same characters. Although zombies, you can pick up on the other side of the country, other side of the globe, and, have the same kind of toned, and, kind of do something else with it. But I'm definitely very okay with them kind of bringing everyone back. I think that's the way to go, especially 10 years on now. So, we can move to TV news if that sounds good to everyone.
Yeah, I'm excited about this trailer we're about to talk about. Yeah,
we got a couple trailers, actually, as far as TV shows are concerned. The first one is for, it's a miniseries. It's a 6-episode miniseries coming to TNT. It's called I Am the Night. It stars Chris Pine as the lead, and Patty Jenkins, Wonder Woman's Patty Jenkins, is heavily involved in this. I think she directed at least a couple episodes here. So, pretty good cast. Obviously, Chris Pine himself was also in Wonder Woman, so another kind of director and actor collaboration that clearly was fruitful. Say, hey, let's do this again sometime in the future. And there you go. I Am the Night. Definitely very interesting looking trailer. And it does have that. I think Andrew and I are kind of on the same page of 6 episodes. Yeah, that sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah.
Andrew, it's definitely sounded like you were up for this one.
Yeah, no, I don't know who's making between this trailer and what's that movie? The other movie that's coming out had a really good trailer. I can't think of it now. We talked about it a couple weeks back, but anyways, this trailer is really well crafted. I really enjoyed it, and I think it definitely adds a lot of appeal. The show kind of looks like a Almost got some like True Detective vibes a little bit from it, which is, I find that kind of exciting. Looks like they got some occult stuff mixed in there, and it looks like it takes place in the Deep South, I think. Or was that the Deep South, or was that supposed to be like old LA or something?
I don't know.
I definitely got some Deep South vibes.
Yeah, this almost seemed like a HBO show when I was watching the trailer, and then I was a little surprised when it was a TNT show.
Yeah, I was surprised by that too.
Yeah, I'm not I can't think of the last thing I watched on TNT personally.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it looked really intriguing, and I'm definitely interested to see like kind of the whole premise behind it. But I thought it was a very good trailer and kind of left me wanting more.
Well, how about the next trailer we got for Hulu's Castle Rock? It's coming to us from another group of people that have proven they're very talented in the past, and that is, of course, the author Stephen King and writer, producer, director extraordinaire J.J. Abrams. That's a pretty cool collaboration, I would say, just from that. And I would say that, just to add my 2 cents, I thought this trailer looked pretty great, personally. Really, really strong cast. We got Bill Skarsgård is, he's had a pretty recent turn as a horror icon in Pennywise the Dancing Clown and It. And beyond that, Melanie Linsky, Scott Glenn, Sissy Spacek, Jane Levy, who was it Mia and the Evil Dead remake reboot-ish. Yeah, I thought this looked good. What did you guys think?
Yeah, I thought it looked pretty good. Looked intriguing. So we'll see where it goes. I'll definitely look into it.
Yeah, I feel the same.
All right. Well, I guess there's not much to say on that other than it will premiere on Hulu July 25th. I think Hulu does kind of the episode, like the weekly episode releases, unlike some of the other streaming services. But I'm definitely willing to give this one a look. Curious to see how it shakes out. Couple more pieces of news before we can get going in the Ant-Man on the ants. Why the Last Man? It's a comic book from DC, and it's getting an adaptation on FX, which has now announced the cast for it. It's something else for me, I think, that has an outstanding cast, and that kind of alone gets me excited for it. The comic book series I've heard good things about, never read it myself. It's by Brian K. Vaughan, who I know worked on The Runaways for Marvel and Pia Guerra. It's about a post-apocalyptic world in which a cataclysmic event has decimated every male mammal save for one lone human. The new world order of women will explore gender, race, class, and survival. It's the official logline. So cast-wise, we're looking at Diane Lane playing the lead. That would be Martha, for those of you out there.
Why did you say that name?
It's his mother.
Jesus.
Barry Keoghan will be playing the male character. He was in Dunkirk. Imogen Poots, Lashana Lynch, who will be in Captain Marvel, which we've mentioned, Juliana Canfield, and Marin Ireland. So obviously, for obvious story reasons, a very heavy female cast in this one. But a good one nonetheless, and a premise I would say that's intriguing. And FX, Legion, as far as comic book adaptations, is good shit. So I feel like it's in good hands. What do you guys think?
I'm pretty excited for this. I've been meaning to read this series for a while. I think it's Image Comics, but Brian K. Vaughan does some really good stuff. Like I read Saga and a lot of his other like shorter stories, and everything I've read by him I've liked. So I know that I would probably like Why the Last Man. It's just one of those series that's pretty large, so I've been hesitant to jump on it. But I would very much like to see this as a TV show. The premise always sounded really interesting to me.
According to the Wikipedia page, it's Vertigo.
Oh, Vertigo.
Who was bought by DC.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. But, yeah, no, definitely there's a lot of talented people behind this project. I think it's going to pan out pretty good. It sounded pretty good anyways. RoboCop, or not Robo, never, I'm sorry. My brain isn't with me this afternoon. there was a thought that was in there. It's not coming out right, so I'm just gonna just shut my mouth.
Dalton, you got anything for?
I'm not familiar with it, but it does have a good cast, so it does have some talent.
Well, there you go. Last bit of TV news: Mr. Joss Whedon is returning to television. He is going to write and I don't know if he's going to direct, but he's producing a science fiction show called The Nevers, and HBO liked what they saw. They've ordered it straight to series. It's described as an epic science fiction drama about a gang of Victorian women who find themselves with unusual abilities, relentless enemies, and a mission that might change the world. Oh, here we go. He's going to be writer, director, executive producer, and showrunner. So he's very, very heavily involved with this. It's Joss Whedon coming back to TV, you know? I feel like it's been a while since we've had I guess, a really, like, strong Joss Whedon presence. I mean, has he done anything since maybe Dollhouse? Was that maybe the last thing he did as kind of, like, I know he was involved in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but principally that's his brother Jed and Marissa Tancharo, and so I don't really know that he's done a whole lot. So it's definitely interesting to see him kind of coming back into the fold. I mean, obviously Buffy and Angel back in the day, Firefly as well. So
he's definitely got a pretty awesome freaking resume as far as TV shows go. I think I've seen them all. Old Joss Whedon, all his TV shows.
The nerd god.
Yeah, he's pretty talented fella.
Yeah, I mean, I even saw Dollhouse, and I didn't think it was that bad, even though they kind of had to rush the ending of it.
Yeah, and I enjoyed it for what it was worth, you know, for what it was. It has a neat premise. Really liked Firefly, though. Firefly was amazing. Really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, Firefly, and it's not really a TV show, but Serenity were the best, though.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, so excited to see him come back to the land of TV. I did confirm, per this article, that he has not show ran anything since Dollhouse. So it's been a while. Yeah, and hopefully it's a little bit more successful, at least in terms of viewership, than say Dollhouse was. But it is on HBO. I think HBO's certainly got a little bit different metrics going than your networks do. So that's it for the TV news. That's it for the news in general. That means it's time for the box office breakdown, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, is that like a sick downtrodden version of the?
Yeah, the horns don't have a lot of wind behind them this time.
Well, I'll keep this nice and short. Ant-Man and the Wasp. I'm going to focus on that since that's our topic for the episode. Opening weekend landed at $75.8 million, which, compared to the recent Marvel openings of Black Panther and Avengers Infinity War, it looks pretty soft. And it is, relative to those. But relative to something like the first Ant-Man, which is also a good point of comparison, it's up 33%. That one debuted at 57.2 mil. So we see some modest improvements from the first one, which, in a sequel, you kind of want to see that. But it's definitely going to be one of the lower grossing Marvel movies for whatever reason. I mean, it's definitely a very silly character, don't get me wrong. He's named Ant-Man for fuck's sake, but it doesn't seem to have any sort of big mainstream appeal. It's actually trending very closely to Solo's numbers, which, again, when your movie like this one's a little bit more reasonably budgeted, it had a lower budget than say Black Panther, than say Avengers. I think it was around $160 million, I think, overall. So when you make a movie for a little bit less compared to what you're used to, even if it grosses a little bit less, it's not so bad. Unless you make the movie twice, like you did in Solo, then it's a big failure. So these numbers are, I think, generally successful, even if they're not, gonna, blow your pants off or anything like that. Second weekend slid 62% to $29.1 million, landed number 2 for the weekend, behind Hotel Transylvania 3, but ahead of The Rock's Skyscraper, so that's not bad to beat out a Rock movie in its debut weekend. Overseas, it's got a bit of a staggered launch. The World Cup is a thing that happened. Congratulations, France, or fuck you, France, depending on how you feel about that sort of thing. Basically, they're doing a staggering launch. They didn't want it to compete with the World Cup for viewership, so I know it's not open like the UK and several other territories. I think China doesn't even have a date for it yet. So it's at 150.9 mil overseas, which brings it to a worldwide total of $284 million. So I would say that this one will probably trend to probably 600 million worldwide when all is said and done, but it'll kind of crawl its way there just with the way that the release schedule is set up. So solid, but unspectacular numbers, shall we say. But I think we can talk about the movie itself, right?
Yeah.
All right, so Ant-Man and the Wasp is directed by Peyton Reed, returning to the director's chair after helming the first Ant-Man. It's written by Chris McKenna, Eric Summers, Paul Rudd, Andrew Barrere, and Gabriel Ferrari. A lot of returning cast members from the first one, amongst them Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly, Michael Pena, Bobby Cannavale, Judy Greer, T.I. Harris, David Dastmalchian, Abby Ryder-Fortson, and Michael Douglas, of course. And we've got newcomers in the form of Wally Goggs, Walton Goggins, my man, one of my mans, Hannah John Kamen, Randall Park, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Lawrence Fishburne. So Ant-Man and the Wasp, we've all seen it, but for those of you who maybe haven't, only days away from being freed from house arrest, Scott Lang finds himself drawn into becoming Ant-Man again when Hope Van Dyne, the Wasp, and her father, Dr. Hank Pym, present an urgent new mission. So this will obviously make for a little bit better, more of a round table kind of discussion here. So our listeners may have listened to our very long bonus episode of Marvel Cinematic Universe Phase 2. Andrew, Henry, and I talked about the first Ant-Man. Pretty sure we all really liked it.
Yeah.
I think Andrew had it the highest in his rankings of any of us, but we were all big fans of the first one. So let me turn the mic over for a brief second to Dalton, who has not spoken on the record about the first Ant-Man. How did you feel about the first one? I don't know if you've seen it in a while, but just generally what you think.
No, I really enjoyed the first one. I mean, I know there was a lot of question marks when it first came out since the whole director situation, and which I, to be honest with you, don't remember who originally was. The guy did Scott Pilgrim, right? Yeah. So I mean, I think Peyton Reed stepped in and did a good job, and I really enjoyed it. As you know, I just thought it was kind of a humorous movie, and I really liked the special effects, and it sort of suffered from the same Marvel issue with the villain. But I mean, that wasn't the main focus of the movie in the first place, so it was just something to kind of present an obstacle. But I really enjoyed the first movie, and I was definitely excited for the sequel.
Yeah, so the sequel, it sounded like we were all pretty big fans of the first one. It's kind of what I thought, so I wanted to ask you guys, how do you think it compared to the first one? Maybe things you liked more about this one. Maybe you liked everything more. I mean, anything really. I mean, how do you guys think it stacks up?
It felt like a very natural. I don't know. Just felt like a natural progression in Ant-Man. Really, really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the first one. I really enjoyed this one. I think definitely Ant-Man's up there as far as one of my favorite movies. Paul Rudd's just so fucking good at the role, man. He's awesome. It makes for a really good hammy superhero movie,
Yeah. Let's see. So I like the first one a lot too, as we said, and this one I liked it, and it was really funny. I thought the humor was really on point in this. There were a few scenes that, for the listeners, Colton, Andrew, and I got to watch this one together, and I think we were all just busting out laughing at a few scenes. And I thought having a lot more Hope or Evangeline Lilly was a good thing for this movie. She was a pretty strong presence. One of the few things that I didn't enjoy as much is I feel like, although we got plenty of Paul Rudd and his humor, I wanted a little more of Scott Lang and kind of his thieves or engineer, like cat burglar skills. And I feel like I got a little bit of his action, a lot of his humor, but I wanted a little more of that from his character from the first movie.
That's fair. That's definitely a fair statement. Because that's definitely nowhere in this one, I don't think.
Yeah, I actually, that was probably one of my principal complaints, is that I don't know, the character itself felt dumbed down, but he was never like you were saying, Henry, never really given that opportunity to show off, his master's degree in electrical engineering. Whereas the first one, when he breaks into Pem's house, you see a lot of ingenuity in how he handles that heist. And this one, you see ingenuity in terms of how he uses the Ant-Man power set, shrinking and enlarging. And every time I say shrinking and enlarging, it just sounds dirty. I'm sorry. It's not the first time it's happened. But I would agree that's probably one of my principal complaints in terms of it's not that it's a bad thing. It's not that it brings it down for me, but it's definitely something I'm like, that was a good component of the first one that seemed to kind of fall by the wayside coming in. Maybe that's an Edgar Wright thing from the first one. I don't know. But obviously it was not a priority here. But I will say, in terms of what it did prioritize, I was a big fan. Like I said, it did maybe need some other things. I think maybe would have brought it up, a tier or two. But overall, what it chose to focus on, I think it did exceptionally well. The humor, obviously, is something we've talked about that I think it's one of the funniest movies in the MCU. Maybe Ragnarok's funnier, but it's definitely got some of the strongest comedy overall. And some really good running gags. The close-up magic thing is one that's exceptional.
Yeah.
Car wash protocol is another good one. There's a lot of really funny things in this movie, and there's a lot of sweet exchanges, and just Michael Pena, of course, is a gold mine as far as the comedy is concerned.
The whole truth serum. I really enjoyed that they came back around to that whole him telling a story thing again. I was waiting for it, and I was so happy when it came back up. I always thought those.
I mean,
were
that's we talk about iconic moments. I think in Mission Impossible, that's like an iconic Ant-Man thing.
Yeah.
People that saw Ant-Man think of Michael Pena. kind of given his monologues, and it was very very appreciated to see that come back. Do we have any other overall thoughts right now?
I really liked it. I thought it was funny. I really liked the cast. Paul Rudd's a funny guy, and it was cool seeing Evangeline, Kate from Lost, doing her thing, and kind of, I guess, like showing off like the full use of the suit and the powers. Ant-Man's kind of, or Paul Rudd's, he's kind of sort of learning as he's going, and he sort of has the hang of it, but she's kind of mastered it. So it's kind of seeing like someone who like fully grasps it, and I mean, I don't ever get tired of the whole like the shrinking and getting things bigger. I find that funny and humorous. When they shrink the car and they're driving on the road, or they throw they kind of just enlarge objects, and just I just thought it was kind of clever how they did that, and like I said, that doesn't get old for me. So I mean, I really liked it. I thought it was a funny movie. It's definitely like a standalone compared to maybe the rest of Marvel, but I enjoyed it for what it is.
And we could certainly say that it's definitely a bit of a breather after Avengers Infinity War, which, is a bit of an emotionally charged movie, certainly towards the end. And this one's a bit more fluffier, a bit lighter fare, I would say, overall. And, as something that kind of comes up on the heels of Avengers Infinity War, I thought that this was kind of a nice, I don't want to say a palate cleanser, because that, I don't know if that sounds kind of negative perhaps, but it's definitely something where it's just like, damn, that was a daunting experience. I'm very excited to see what happens in Avengers 4, come, less than a year now, but I'm cool to just spend a couple hours with Ant-Man and the Wasp. I'm good with that as kind of a side adventure. Maybe that's why it doesn't play so well in terms of box office numbers, because, it's not really all that connected to too much else. In the universe, they do kind of stand on their own. Obviously, we saw, interestingly enough, this one is far more connected to the events of Civil War than it is to Infinity War. Scott being on house arrest is a direct kind of through line from Civil War. His relationship with Hank and Hope is kind of derived from his experiences in Civil War. And, everything is pretty much a carryover from obviously Ant-Man, the first one, and then Civil War. So it's interesting for it to come out now. Maybe if this came out last year, I wonder if it would have played better, perhaps, because it would be kind of a more immediately on, the success and the tracks that Civil War laid down. But I don't know. That's pure speculation on my part. I feel like I've passed the mic enough times, so I'm going to go ahead and put some of my just thoughts that I kind of jotted down. I think Evangeline Lilly is amazing in this. We all know she's cool. She's
very cool.
Andrew, you can get it out of the way.
Very cool.
But she's the star of the show for me. I remember when the movie was announced a few years back, and they announced the title as Ant-Man and the Wasp. Like I just got instantly excited by that news, because to me that felt like the perfect progression from the first movie. The first one kind of hinted towards Hope being far more competent at using the abilities of Hank's basically shrinking technology. And obviously we got the stinger tease of her kind of seeing the suit. It's about damn time. She wasn't wrong. All right, it was definitely about damn time. It was awesome to see her. And I think Dalton, I think you mentioned it, that she's got some chops with the suit. Like, she knows what she's doing, and it's evident pretty much from the minute she pops on the screen. Like, she knows what she's doing. She's in charge. She's awesome. Like, she's great. But that's not to discredit my man Paul Rudd too. Another one of my mans. Got so many mans. Now, I may have told this to some people here on the podcast. I can't remember who I've stated this to. I have a Paul Rudd policy. And my Paul Rudd policy is, if you don't like Paul Rudd, I don't like you. It's a simple thing. Like, how can you dislike Paul Rudd? It's you don't like his movies, fine. I'll grant you that. But to it just doesn't do it for me. You don't do it for me either, man. So if that hurts your feelings, if I just lost a few listeners because of that, it's fine. It's a hard policy, and I have to abide by it. I mean, it's Paul Rudd, man. I mean, watch I Love You, man. How could you not love I Love You, man?
Yeah,
come on now.
Yeah, it's a true statement. It's a factual statement. If you don't like Paul Rudd, you're a sad human being. There's something wrong with you.
They say that some wiring got
fucking
broken along the way. I don't know what happened, but genetics did not do you any favors. But he is great in this. Obviously, I wish that there was more to him than just being funny Paul Rudd. But funny Paul Rudd's obviously great, and he is, as you might expect, because Paul Rudd's awesome. Paul Rudd continues to be awesome in this. But I could go on and on about really the cast. Michael Douglas gets a little bit more to do than the first one. Great here. The rest of the ex-cons, T.I., David Desmalchin, gets some fun stuff to work with here. Walton Goggins, I feel like, is a little underutilized, but he's a man for me that has wonderful screen presence when he does pop up in anything, and I'm a big Justified fan. So anyone that looks for more Walton Goggins in their life, seek out Justified. You will not regret it. Plus, it's got Timothy Olyphant in it. Come on, man. It's ridiculous.
Still a show I've never seen. How many episodes are in that, or how many seasons are that? Is it 5 or 6?
6 seasons. Yeah, of about 13-ish episodes each, so it's doable. Hannah John Kamen as Ghost. She's great. We kind of see her unhinged, and great performance. Good year for her. Ready Player One and Tomb Raider. This is her biggest role by far, but she owns it. And then Randall Park is Jimmy Woo.
He's pretty awesome.
Great. Great. He's definitely a bit different than his comic book counterpart, shall we say, but he's fantastic in this. And I thought that the cast in general, is really, really strong. And I think that one of the strongest things about this movie is how much heart it has. I think probably the core of that is the father-daughter relationship between Scott and Cassie, who, I guess I didn't mention her, but maybe I was going to bridge into that. Abby Ryder-Fortson as Cassie has got to be one of the best, child actresses. Usually, it's always a fine line, but she is super charming. Line delivery is amazing, always. Just, there's a bit where, where she's watching TV and she just has this big smile on her face, and it's awesome. And I think that grounding the movie like that, it's one of the few superheroes in the MCU that is a dad, and they make that a heavy focus. I mean, we saw Hawkeye's family in Age of Ultron, but that was, that was something they added later to his character to give him some more depth because he didn't have any to begin with, or he was, was a villain for basically most of the Avengers. And here, I think that having him, as that dad with Cassie, both of them are just exceptional together. And I think that makes just a really, really compelling, and it makes it such a, I would say for me, it makes, Scott Lang himself makes Ant-Man just a really, really likable character, because there's something so genuine to that relationship. So now that I've talked too long, let me pass it back up to you guys. Anything else right now?
Marvel's really been on a father theme kind of kick, Yeah,
I guess that's true with all Thanos and Gamora.
Like Thanos, Gamora, Guardians of the Galaxy 2 with Peter Quill and his dad. Spider-Man Homecoming, you could kind of say Tony Stark's kind of a dad.
Like a father figure, yeah.
Yeah, Black Panther is about, his father's mistakes. A lot of dads in the MCU. Some of them good, like Paul Rudd. Some of them not as good, like Thanos.
Well, I think that's.
I mean, he did love Gamora, so.
I mean, yeah,
he loved her enough to throw off.
He also, yeah. I don't know. Do we get into spoilers from that movie in here?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean,
it did come out.
It's a
little while ago.
It's been out for a while. I imagine
daughter,
most people listening to this
maybe not the best dad
are aware of kind of things that have happened in that movie. So
I feel like everybody in the modern world has seen Avengers, right? Just because of the sheer numbers, everybody's paid for it.
Well, we know that if they didn't, then they're not part of the human race. So
they're under a rock. Something, yeah. They're not. They missed the cultural event of the century. That's yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Action sequence is great. Setting, San Francisco, definitely. I enjoyed the. It seemed like it was a lot better integrated as this feels like it's in San Francisco, and it's cool to see that as a setting, because I mean it's true of the comics especially, but everything's very New York centric, so it's cool to see some other maybe locales. I mean, I guess we've gotten a lot of Wakanda too, but that's a fictional country, even though we'd like it to not be. And to see kind of the way that San Francisco is realized here, I really enjoyed that as someone that lived kind of out in that side of the country for a few months and spent some time in San Francisco here and there. I think, Andrew, you might have visited as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, San Fran's a pretty cool place.
Yeah, I say Fisherman's Wharf, we see here. It's cool. It's cool. I will say the trailers spoiled a bit too much. I don't know if it was quite as egregious as something like Jurassic was with its marketing material, but I kind of felt like a lot of the set pieces, we didn't really know the exact order, but maybe that's a fault of my own that I just watched too much, perhaps. But I just kind of felt like I wasn't super surprised by anything. It didn't overall detract from my experience, but I wanted more here and there where I'm just like, oh, I kind of saw that already, but it still works. So that's all the notes I have on the non-spoilers for Ant-Man and the Wasp. Again, if you guys have some other thoughts, please state them for the record.
I'll wait till spoilers.
All right, I respect that. Andrew, anything else before we jump to recommendation? So, recommendation. I got to get a drink, so I'm gonna get you guys to start with the recommendations here. How do you guys feel about this? Sounds like we all liked it pretty well. So, we could do Netflix, we could do Blu-ray, we could go see it in the theaters. What do you guys think?
Go see it in theaters. It's worth seeing in the theaters. I think anything with that sort of scale is I don't know, it's definitely an experience to have in the movie theater. The bigger a giant man, the better the experience. Feet. Yeah, right? I mean, you don't want to see a 65-foot man on a 55-inch TV. You need to see it on a big screen TV. IMAX if you can. We saw it on the IMAX screen, and I think it was pretty nice. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's a very good looking film. Effects look great. Not really spoilers, but the de-aging technology I thought was pretty good too. It seems like they're getting better and better at it. So the more and more they use it, I'm less concerned with it. I thought Michelle Pfeiffer looked really good de-aged, and yeah, I think if you like superhero movies, you should definitely see this one in theaters. You'll
I think if you want to see, I think you could probably paint this one with broader strokes. I think I think you definitely probably have to see the first one.
Yeah, agreed.
But if you just want to go see a good comedy movie and you have seen the first one, I think this one's definitely worth seeing. I think it's just a funny movie. It's really good, really well crafted.
Yeah. I'd probably see Civil War 2 just to make sense of it all, but not absolutely required. But I'd say the first one's definitely required if you want to understand it.
I wouldn't even say that the first one's required personally. I would recommend it certainly, in the sense that I don't usually think you should watch a sequel to something if you haven't seen the first one. Most sequels kind of expect you to pick up and move on with how things left off. But I think that in terms of like the driving force of this plot, like even just like the very beginning, we saw most of that in the first one, and they kind of retell it here for audiences to kind of catch them up. So I see where you guys are coming from, but obviously, as with really any MCU movie, if the character appeared in a movie, that you should probably check it out just to kind of see what's going on with him, because there is that through line. I mean, yeah, from Ant-Man 1, how it ends to how it picks up here, you can put the pieces together because they obviously kind of lay it out through exposition, but if you walk in saying, oh, I remember what happened in the first one, I remember what happened in Civil War, and then I come here now, yeah, cool. But I don't know that it's absolutely essential. I think you could get away with watching this on its own. It's just, it's as with most Marvel movies, you get more value out of having seen the other ones.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and I think, doesn't like Michael Pena's monologue kind of recap part of the first movie, is so you can sort of get an idea of what happened. But I definitely think you should see this one in theaters. The special effects are definitely worth the price of admission alone, and it doesn't even, not even necessarily a superhero movie. It's like a funny movie in general. So I think it's just something you should see in theaters. That's kind of the right medium for it.
I will jump on the train here and say theater is definitely the way to see this. I saw this twice. First time obviously was with Henry and Andrew IMAX. That is absolutely the ideal viewing experience. If that's an option for you, I would heartily recommend you do that. Second time I saw it, actually with Dalton here, and it was in a regular screen. Coming from IMAX, definitely a bit of a come down, but it's still something that any way you can, you should see this with good screen, good sound. And the better that you can find, obviously, the better your experience is probably going to be. Recommendation wise, it's a strong recommendation to see it in theaters across the board. We can get into spoilers now, so we will do full spoilers for Ant-Man and the Wasp. I think I'm going to kick this spoiler bit off with something we really haven't touched on, probably because it's it definitely dives fully into spoiler territory, and that is the quote-unquote villains of this movie. But, there's really, I don't know that when you use the word villain, I'm not sure that's entirely accurate. I would say antagonists is probably maybe more apt description. So we get Ghost, Hannah John Kamen here. She can phase. She's got some crazy things going on. She's got a Destiny suit that she's walking around in. Bill Foster is somewhat of an antagonist, as we learn, allied with Ghost. But again, not a villain. I would definitely not use the word villain for Bill Foster. And then Sonny Birch, Wally Goggs, is definitely an antagonist. But he's, there's no Thanos here. Let's put it that way. There's no one that's going to snap half the universe out of existence.
Or is there?
No, that's true. I guess he is in this universe. To be fair, that is a very, very fair point, and we are in spoilers. So yeah, he is out there, isn't he? But in terms of, let's say, the scope of the movie until the not mid credits and post credit sequences, let's hold off on that for now. Talking about the villains in this, how did you guys feel about Ghost, for instance?
I thought she was okay. I mean, she's definitely cool design and everything else. I think she's a cool character. And that it was okay. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed Mr. Goggins. I thought he was. I enjoyed his villainous presence. an arms dealer and stuff. So I don't know. I think having two people try to fight for screen time and stuff was interesting. I thought it was interesting that they had two villains. But I did enjoy. I think Ghost is a little bit more. I mean, she has a reason, and I found her to be. She wasn't so bad, I agree 100% with what you were saying. Although I think definitely Mr. Goggins is more of a villain. He's just an arms dealer trying to make that money. So he's kind of an asshole.
Yeah, I agree. I like Ghost. I like that she's not a true villain in the sense, and that she is just doing all her actions are kind of to save herself because she's dying and she's in pain in every second of her life. So you can definitely understand why someone would get to where she's at and start going to the lengths where she's going. But also like the Bill Foster presence there where he kind of keeps her in check, and there's the scene where she probably would switch over to that villain side, and where she thinks about going to get Scott's daughter, and Bill Foster stops her. And, I guess you could have seen her become a more traditional villain real quick in that route. But we've seen that a lot, so I'm okay with seeing her as she was, and then the ending made it very open to her coming back in the future. So, that's cool.
Yeah, I thought she was a pretty cool adversary. I thought her, like the phasing in and out, I thought that was a neat effect, kind of seeing that and how she was able to kind of use that against Ant-Man and the Wasp. And kind of what Henry said, there was a point where she could have, what Colton alluded to, the heart of the movie, she could have made that decision and, kind of gone down a dark path, and she decides not to go that way. And, it sort of works out in the end, but and then I kind of liked how the other villain was a little bit more grounded for like Ant-Man. It wasn't like a big cosmic villain. It was kind of like not the level of like a Defenders, villain, but someone that's a little bit more like street level, and that's kind of like what the Ant-Man deals with. He's not Captain America, so
yeah.
I believe you mean he's not Cap. Captain America, that's what we call him. Yeah, so I think that's what I enjoy about, really, I mean, probably the first one too, is that it's not the world ending, it's not the universe ending kind of stakes. There's no blue lights going into the sky. It's just, Ant-Man's got a thing to worry about. I mean, really, the driving force of this plot is going to the quantum realm to rescue Jaina Van Dyne, which we definitely should talk about that in a second. But just while we're on the subject of the villains, I liked Ghost a lot. I found it interesting how, obviously they pull the curtain back and kind of tell you her backstory and make her much more sympathetic. What I was surprised by is how early they did that, so that, pretty much maybe a third into the movie, you already kind of get she's out to survive, and she's not a true villain as a result. I was worried that they were going to kill her by the end, and I was just like, well, what's the point of going through all that? But we definitely kind of see by the end that, that now that she's healed, at least for the time being, maybe she, she's someone that can come back for a sequel as someone that could, be part of the team. Obviously her power set, I guess potentially if it cures her, then maybe she might not have access to her powers. I don't know, but at the same time, I think there's a lot of potential for that character. Thunderbolts, maybe? Yeah. Sonny Birch, I liked too. Of course, it's Walton Goggins. Like I said, for me, it's something like you bring Walton Goggins into the MCU. I kind of wanted him to have a meatier role. He's great. Don't get me wrong. He's definitely a wonderful presence to have here. But I kind of wanted him to have a little bit something more to chew on. But I did appreciate him. He definitely more villain. I would agree with kind of the overall assessment. But I think that kind of having him and Ghost as just kind of antagonistic presences makes for a fun kind of Really, the third act, I mean, it's kind of the hot potato sequence where everyone's, they got the building, oh, he's got the building, they got the building. It's actually fun. And, having so many different players allows you can do that. You can change set pieces because this person goes here, this person goes there. It's fun. I think that it works really well for the structure of this movie, which is less heisty, I think, than the first one. There's certainly there's a heist in an elementary school, which is pretty great. But it's good. But in terms of that the small stakes, in terms of like I said, the kind of driving force, Jaina Van Dyne, they mount the mission to rescue her from the quantum realm where she's been thought lost for, I guess, 30 years now.
Yeah, it's crazy shit.
Michelle Pfeiffer, not a whole lot of screen time here. She's definitely recovered quite late into the movie. I think she's pretty good when she does make her appearance, and Paul Rudd also affects a pretty great Michelle Pfeiffer too,
yeah.
which is good.
Yeah.
But there's something very interesting going on with Janet. So she's evolved, I think is what she says. She's clearly got some sort of quantum realm powers that have been imbued into her. So what do you guys think about that? I mean, we don't really delve too much into kind of the nature of the quantum realm, or really into the nature of what her powers could be, what that means going forward. So it's a very interesting, I feel, story angle for them to kind of take that character. Definitely, as far as I'm aware, nothing along those lines in the comic books that's obviously very heavily inspired by. So it definitely seems like you do that for a specific reason. I'm just not sure what it is.
Yeah, I wish they would have explained it a little bit more and showed more of that, because by the end of the movie, she seems like they show you her crazy quantum powers of healing, but then before the mid-credits scene, everything's fine. Like her and Hank, get their house on the beach and everything, and things seem fine. When I think we were talking about it before, you'd probably be pretty messed up if you're 30 years in a quantum realm, where the laws of physics don't apply or are so different. And I mean, how do you survive? There's just so many questions to it. And I know it's trying to think about the science behind it isn't the point of this movie, but I guess more of the toll that it would have on her character. I feel like if they go forward with that story, they have to explore that more.
Yeah, because it just kind of, I don't know. It all just seems a little crazy, doesn't it? She comes back and doesn't miss a beat, no problem. I can heal people with my hands, but I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it. We just need to know more about what's going on. Because I kind of thought that maybe she'd have been a villain, but it's not what happened. Not yet, anyways. She still could be crazy, but apparently not. I don't know.
Did they say in the movie if time works any differently in the quantum realm, or has she really just been waiting around 30 years?
They said something, but they didn't explain much.
Well, I think that, and I think they might have said it, I think, Penn might say it in the first one, the concept of time is irrelevant in the quantum realm, but it's not that, like the dark dimension from Doctor Strange exists outside of time. So Dormammu, when he's introduced to the concept of time, is like, this sucks, I don't like this. There's definitely a passage of time. She's obviously visibly aged.
Yeah,
She's
exactly.
de-aged at the beginning. When she comes out, she's a little bit older. She's still looking good. Michelle Pfeiffer's still looking good, so it's fine. But she's obviously, older. She's clearly aged within the quantum realm in a way that seems relatively close to how she would have aged on the outside. She's obviously been through some shit. She's wearing some like Mad Max, post-apocalyptic shit. I think she's got like a sword or something fashioned out of what looks like one of her wings from her costume.
That's what I thought.
So there's obviously something going on in there that we don't know about. And she does come out A-okay. Is she a Skrull? Could be. Maybe the Skrulls are hanging out there. Just say if she is, she's not doing much right now. But I don't know. It's interesting that I'm glad that they didn't make her a villain. I will say that. Obviously, as of now, obviously they can pull it in whatever direction they feel for a potential third movie or however they want to proceed with these characters. But I kind of felt like that was the obvious way to take it, and I think obvious is generally boring. So I'm glad they didn't go that way with her. But it does, I don't know, it's interesting how little they really answered about kind of what's been happening there. I thought that there would be a much heavier focus on the quantum realm. I mean, obviously it's big in the movie, it's important in the movie, but it's clearly not the priority. So maybe that's something that they wanted to leave for a third movie to really kind of explore heavily. I don't know, but it's like I said, very interesting kind of way for them to take the story. And like I said, they definitely leave it in a place, at least with her character, minus events that will happen between Avengers 3 and 4, where there's more story to be told, I would say. So those are kind of the two big things I think that really needed to be kind of left for spoiler talk, because otherwise it's hard to dance around a lot of those. I mean, I guess the quantum realm, to expand on that. Did you guys see this? I look up on things online. People think that they see possibly a structure resembling a city within the quantum realm. Is that anything that you guys might have seen?
I didn't see that.
I didn't catch any of that, and I saw it twice as well. So.
No, but I wasn't looking for it either, so.
It's very true.
Right, yeah, so I the second time I meant to look for it, and then I just got caught up in the movie and forgot that I was supposed to be like looking for things to be like, oh, there it is, So in the comics, the quantum realm, or as it's known in the comics, is the microverse, which is home to like several worlds within the microverse. Like it's a separate place with its own cities and inhabitants and stuff like that. And like the way that Janet is fashioned, clearly she's fighting something. She's surviving something. Like, why would she have a weapon if she doesn't need it? So I think that there's got to be more there. Like, that's got to be where they go for a third Ant-Man, if should they choose to make it, or whatever they do. Maybe they'll put Hulk in it.
Tiny Hulk?
Because they still can't make a Hulk movie, so. Or Giant Hulk, that would be cool.
Jesus Christ.
even more Giant Hulk. So I don't know. I didn't see anything myself. It's maybe one of those that when the Blu-ray comes around, maybe you'll see some screen grabs, because you can actually see Janet in the quantum realm in the first one, which is something that's like a very brief snippet, and they expanded upon that here. But it's very obviously the outline of her costume with the 4 wings and stuff like that. So I think even Peyton Reed, director, basically said there's a lot of hints towards the future buried within the quantum realm. So. Huh. I will wait for a far more dedicated fan to scrub the Blu-ray frame by frame and tell me what's in it.
That sounds cool.
So other spoiler things. What you guys got any general thoughts? Things you liked that you can talk about a little bit more extensively now?
I think the funniest sequence was when they go to the school to get his suit back from the trophy case, and you just see a little tiny Paul Rudd, but it's just like he's not tiny like an ant, he's just like a kid size.
How was your date, champ?
that was probably my favorite sequence, or the funniest sequence in the movie.
It's pretty good.
I would say I don't think it's a scene that gets a lot of laughs from general audiences, but when they go to meet Bill Foster at Cal, They show up in the traditional Marvel Cinematic Universe disguise of hats and sunglasses.
Oh, yeah.
And Lang has a line about, we just look like ourselves at a baseball game.
That's pretty funny.
Which is hilarious, because that's that's been kind of a meme online of, really, this is their disguise? And if you go back and watch, I think Civil War, Winter Soldier, even the Netflix shows got in on it. I think Nuke did it in the first Jessica Jones season. So there was a very good meta commentary. I greatly enjoyed that. They said probably not the funniest moment. That might belong to maybe Michael Pena's scene. Where he gets the chance to shine, talking about Scott's emotional state. And apparently there's a joke in there about I don't know if it's his abuelita or someone that he knows is a big fan of Morrissey. Apparently that is an actual completely true thing. Not anything that I would be aware of, but that's the thought is probably that there was someone in the writing crew that has dealt with that in their personal life. So apparently that was a really good joke, because it didn't really do anything for me, but pretty cool nonetheless. There's good stuff in here. Giant Man, we get a lot of Giant Man kind of towards the end, and we saw the bit of him kind of using the truck to drive along the pavement, which was pretty great. And the ferry scene when he's like the whale coming down. It's pretty great as well. There's some good stuff in here. Yeah. And set pieces. Any thoughts or anything?
I just enjoyed it all, man. Really enjoyed it all. I had a really fun time watching that movie.
There were a lot of humorous scenes throughout the whole movie, so it was just kind of one to the next. I enjoyed it. I think favorite scene overall is probably when you kind of see the Wasp first doing her thing, taking off Sonny's crew after she's double crossed. So I mean, I would say that's my favorite action set. But overall, the humor was throughout the whole thing was funny.
Well, it seems like a perfectly natural segue to get into our patented favorite moments. Dalton just stated his, and if I may do the same, I will say it is exactly what he just talked about. The first introduction to the Wasp, when she's meeting with Birch, we kind of see it's just Hope, as Hope kind of doing her thing, and he's like, well, I'm going to have to hold on to your money, and then she walks away, okay. And then she comes back and just absolutely wrecks shop. It's awesome. So cool. Awesome to see a full-fledged Wasp, founding Avenger Wasp. Let me tie this all together. Doing her thing. It was great. That was definitely my favorite moment. That was, I was in. Definitely in big time from that point on. There's a lot of good stuff in this, don't get me wrong. But that was definitely one for me that I was sold. You guys have favorite moments lined up?
I got a couple of them. I enjoyed the truth serum.
Okay.
I enjoyed that whole gag.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty good. It's probably going to be one of my favorite. I think it's probably my favorite. Yeah, I'm just going to stick with that one. I enjoyed the truth serum scene. I like that one a whole lot. Made me laugh. Followed by a close runner-up would be the school sequence. Really enjoyed the school sequence as well. But
yeah, no, that truth serum sequence, both that one and then when they turn the tables and then get the villains in on some truth serum. Yeah. Pretty good. Yeah, I still stick with my school sequence. That just killed me the first time that I watched it. And I'm curious where you guys kind of rank this movie, not for us to do our extensive list again, but just kind of in the general realm of Marvel movies, where you guys put this one.
Well, how about this? How do we like this better than the first one as a starting point?
I like this one better than the first one.
Okay, I think I tend to feel the same way. There's obviously recency bias that's probably part of that, so maybe revisiting it in a few months might help me kind of see where it settles in the overall pecking order. I don't think it's significantly better than the first one. I think I enjoy it. I think it maybe is a little bit more rewatchable than the first one. The first one's got the origin story trappings that I don't know. This one's more breezy. It's easier to kind of just watch it start to finish.
I enjoyed the presence of the Wasp.
I would say,
though.
I would, interestingly enough, I think it's probably my least favorite MCU film this year between Black Panther, Avengers, and this. But I don't think that. Yeah. I feel like that definitely sells it short, because I think that Marvel has just been crushing it this year. And I think this is no exception. But I think this is definitely. I think in terms of Phase 3, it's definitely top tier. It's well above, I would say, Doctor Strange. I would say it's probably top 10 at least for the MCU. I mean, it's in the upper half, I would say, at a very minimum. Where would fall in that for me? God, I'd have to. I don't even know what my order is. It's probably different than it was a couple months ago when we recorded last. But that's kind of where I stand on it. You guys agree? Disagree?
I think I like this one slightly more than the first one, mainly just because of the Wasp. But when I was kind of just jotting down a new list, just without looking at the old ones, I don't think I had this one in my top 10 just because, especially with Phase 3, there have been so many good ones. But it's in my upper half of the MCU movies, I'd say. Yeah,
I mean, I liked it, I would say, better than the first. I mean, it has been a while since I saw the first one, but yeah, I definitely think that it doesn't have to kind of explain the whole origin and just kind of go straight to the character and picks up, sort of from Civil War.
Yeah. Well, we've been kind of dancing around the obvious, but before we get there, just a quick shout to Egghead, not Eggman, not Jim Carrey's Eggman, of course,
please.
but Egghead is derailed. Egghead is an Ant-Man villain from the comics, and he actually makes a very brief appearance here as Ghost's father in that little flashback sequence, which is quite cool. Tim Heidecker makes a nice cameo here. He's part of a YouTube series called On Cinema at the Cinema with Greg Turkington, who was the Baskin-Robbins manager in the first one, and there were some fun jokes with that, and so I'm very excited to see how that proceeds from there. And then lastly, as a big Celery Man fan, Cassie's teacher, when they walk in the door, it's actually her teacher's name is Mrs. Tane. So for those of you that know about the Celery Man, that's some good Easter eggs right there. Post credits, mid credits. Let's start there. That's obviously the meaty one here. We see the repercussions of Avengers: Infinity War felt quite heavily. One would say that maybe the characters here are a little bit more disproportionately affected. 50%, more like 75% of the 4 characters that we see. Scott ends up trapped in the quantum realm.
Yeah, it's pretty shit.
With seemingly no way out. Of course, he did make his way out of there in the first one, but he doesn't have the same suit. He may not have the same kind of devices that got him out. So that's a pretty shitty situation to be stuck in. But arguably, it's a better situation than not existing at all, which is the fate that befalls Hank Pym, Janet Van Dyne, and Hope Van Dyne. So one big happy family is now out of existence, for the time being at the very minimum.
And it'd be really rad. It'd be really rad if somebody goes to the quantum realm to go save him, and he's riding a water bear. He's got a
little tardigrade action. Okay.
Yeah.
They're cute, but they're not friendly.
So yeah, this is the movie's pretty happy-go-lucky, and then this comes around, and then the Infinity War feels come back in full force. And now that we kind of see even more far-reaching effects of that snap, pretty wild. Definitely a very dour note to kind of leave audiences on. Even by the end, jumping ahead a little bit, Ant-Man and the Wasp will return? ? It's just like, well, will they? It's as with the Marvel movies, it's all a machine. It's a continuing adventures. So we're kind of in the mid chapter. We're in the Empire Strikes Back effect. What's going to happen? I really enjoyed this integration. I mean, the whole movie obviously takes place pre-Infinity War, and then now we catch up, and the repercussions are definitely felt. How'd you guys like this? Let's do them all at the same time. And the post-credits is just kind of a continuation of it. We see the emergency broadcast, kind of an eerie feel, and then we go to the ant drummings, kind of not a care in the world. Apparently, I think it was either Kevin Feige or the Russos basically said that even animals were affected by the snap, so that ant should consider himself quite fortunate. So I don't know. I mean, that seems unnecessary because they could have so many resources in terms of food, but what do I know? I'm not Thanos, or am I? No, I'm not. It's fine. Post credits. What'd you guys think?
I thought obviously they were going to have to address the Avengers and kind of the repercussions of what Thanos the snap. So I was expecting them to show it in some way. I wasn't expecting the whole family to disappear because now he's sort of screwed in the quantum realm. So, and kind of left in limbo. So I'm curious to see how that gets resolved. And then the other one, that was the funny part, where the ant kind of doing his routine, and I think he asks him how old are you, 5 or something like that, when he sees him drumming. So it was just kind of a funny scene from the movie. So
go ahead, Henry. You go ahead.
So you want to know how messed up I am? I wanted the post-credit scene to be Scott reunited with his family and the Pyms Van Dynes, and then they're just all together, and then the snap comes in, and then just have people disappear, and then Scott's left without his family and his daughter, and to see like
Jesus.
no, I just
You're a monster.
then I wanted to see like how that would affect him and drive him in the next movie. But yeah, it was pretty dark. And
Fuck it, we're gonna fridge his whole fucking family.
I guess they didn't want to show a little girl.
In a way, they sort
disappearing.
of did, you know.
So I don't
Yeah,
blame them.
that would be pretty brutal. Yeah. Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, no, it's definitely it's a dour ending, isn't it? That just the way it finished it off. And
Well, you know, and it's so hard coming off of 2 hours of
yeah,
levity and lightheartedness, and you know, families reuniting and having a good time, and then maybe not so much. You know, it's good though, but it definitely, like I said, it brings you right back to that Infinity War mindset, and Avengers 4 going to be very interesting. So, moving forward in the MCU, we've got Captain Marvel coming in March. Cool, filming's done on that. I think Brie Larson kind of announced that on Twitter. We got Sam Jackson, we got Coulson, we got some cool things happening in Captain Marvel. Greatly looking forward to that first female-led film, which, if that thing kind of takes off, then yeah, maybe it's a good time to get that Black Widow movie going. And then Avengers 4, where I think is probably the next time that we'll see Ant-Man. I wonder how involved he's going to be. Stuck in the quantum realm, probably not for the entire film, but is there a possibility that the one timeline that Doctor Strange foresaw was that Scott needed to be in the quantum realm at that particular point in time?
Holy shit.
I don't know. Or he could have just, he could have just been lucky. He was the 50% that survived, perhaps. Which is a side note. I actually forgot about this. I don't know if you guys are big Redditors or not, but they have the subreddit Thanos Did Nothing Wrong, and they got a bunch of subscribers, and then they had like a set day of like, today is the calling, and they banned half their users. It's pretty awesome. And I would like to state that I survived the ban.
Wow.
I'm still fine. So, and I think there's also a website of like, did Thanos kill me or something? I don't remember the exact URL, but it's pretty good. And I survived that one as well. So I'm feeling pretty good right now. All right. I don't know how that worked, but
it'd be even darker if the one timeline that Doctor Strange saw had Scott not in the quantum realm.
oh,
Then they're screwed.
oh, then yeah, well,
they were all done.
yeah, yeah. Well, it'll be very interesting. Yeah, I know some things about Avengers 4, and I will not speak on them because, Henry, I know that you were going into Infinity War quite blind, and I don't know if you're anticipating on doing the same thing. So
I'm gonna try.
we'll just have to take the wait and see approach on Avengers 4 and see what happens. It's not too far out. It's next May. Might get pushed to April again, hopefully. But yeah, so it's tough to really talk about what a sequel might entail because obviously much of these characters are left in limbo. But presuming that things kind of get resolved in a nice, peaceful manner, what things would you guys maybe want to see out of Ant-Man and the Wasp and Ant-Man and the Wasp? I think, Andrew, you might have dubbed that as the sequel title.
What now? What?
Ant-Man and the Wasp and Ant-Man and the Wasp?
Yeah.
Ant-Man's and the Wasps.
Ant-Man's and the Wasps.
Ant-Men and the Wasps?
Wasps.
Better.
Ant-Men and the Waspi? Is that? I think that's the plural version, if I'm not mistaken.
Waspers.
Waspers. Yeah, so like I said, things are, not where maybe they traditionally are going into a potential sequel territory, but, characters you guys might want to see, directions you might want to see it take, anything? Just spitballing?
I don't know, man. I guess, they're going to have to somebody's going to have to go to the quantum realm to save Scott,
Scott.
Oh, I don't know. I think that's where it's going to have to go.
Yeah, I'd like to see some ghosts too, maybe as a more of a hero type character.
Yeah, and Giant Hulk could also be. It's still an option. You can't rule it out. All right, and Thor needs a home too. So
Well, Tiny Korg.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, that's a way to get Ant-Man franchise to $1 billion winner. All right, yeah. So yeah, it's hard to really kind of project. But I hope that it does get a sequel because I think that these movies feel very unique within the MCU. in terms of kind of the tone they strike, in terms of kind of the feel that they are going for. You don't really see a lot of it in some of the other movies that they do. And I think it'd be a shame if we don't get at least these characters popping up and kind of lending that tone to another film. So, yeah, well, I guess we'll have to leave it there for Ant-Man and the Wasp. Do we have any final overall thoughts? Anything?
Nah.
All right. Go see it in theaters. I'll leave it with that. A few of us here. It's been about a week or so since Andrew and I have recorded a regular episode. And I don't live with Andrew anymore, just for the record. Figured I'd state that for the record. I am traveling out and about. I'm actually staying with my brother Dalton right now, so it's very convenient for him to appear on the podcast with us. And I'll be heading off on a bit of a road trip actually tomorrow morning. Heading to New Orleans, San Antonio, Nashville, and then to Virginia. So kind of halfway across the country and back. So I'm kind of all over the place, but I've done one thing that I can talk about. And I know Dalton's watched it too. G.L.O.W Season 2 on Netflix. I know I think I talked about it last episode that I'd started it. And Andrew, I know you haven't watched it, at least unless you've
I haven't seen it.
Started it since I've been gone. Yeah, I didn't think so. Henry, have you watched season 1 or anything of G.L.O.W?
Oh yeah, I
I
watched all of season 1 and I started season 2.
Okay.
I'm only a few episodes in though.
You're a few episodes in. Okay, so I loved season 2. I actually think I might have preferred it over the first one overall. I'll stay non-spoilers, just general. But it gets topical at times, and there's times where it's just heavy hitting in terms of kind of where the plot takes it. Mark Maron is a fucking powerhouse, and Alison Brie is great. But Betty Gilpin, she might be the MVP for me. She's definitely on the cool side of things. And there's some good fun stuff in it. Henry, I don't know how much you know about season 2, so there was one thing I was gonna talk about, but I don't want to spoil it for you. So when you get there, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. It's amazing. Dalton, you've also watched G.L.O.W Season 2, correct?
Yes. Yeah, I saw it a few weeks ago. I really liked it. I did like it better than the first season. And obviously I don't want to go into spoilers, but I'm interested to see kind of like if there's going to be a season 3 and how that happens. And but overall, I liked it. I liked the characters, and it was interesting kind of seeing like where they left off from season 1 and, sort of the things that came up in season 2.
Yeah, so that's it for me. G.L.O.W Season 2, highly recommended. Dalton, since I have you here, anything else you've been watching? Movie, TV shows, video games, anything like that you want to shout out?
Ant-Man was the last movie I saw, obviously, and before that was Incredibles 2. I did not see Jurassic, even though I kind of wanted to, so I might go back and catch that one. But other than that, I watched all of Sense8 on Netflix. I saw Luke Cage Season 2, G.L.O.W Season 2, we just talked about that, and then most recently I just finished the first season of Barry on HBO. So I'm kind of on a roll.
Damn, you've been busy.
Yeah, that's impressive. I'm envious myself. All right, yeah, that's good stuff there too. He's not watching crap. Well, unless he wants to watch Jurassic, maybe don't do that. Maybe listen to our episode on Jurassic before you take the plunge.
Yeah, I haven't got that far yet, so I guess that's not a good sign.
Opinions, work in interesting ways. So let's not color your expectations. But Andrew, Henry, you guys have anything you've been up to you want to share?
No, Jurassic World was trash. I completely agree. I was waiting for you guys to watch it and cover it because I particularly enjoy the episodes where you destroy movies, and especially movies that I saw and also felt similarly towards. So completely agree on that regard. A film that I saw that was not trash was Sorry to Bother You. And
I want to see that.
I recommend you guys go watch it, and I recommend the listeners go watch it. I think Boots Riley is gonna be a really up and coming director, screenwriter in Hollywood, and I really enjoyed that very, very crazy movie. So highly recommended. I don't know if you'll cover it in any extent in a future episode, but go watch it.
Maybe.
Yeah. Let's see.
Andrew? Or Henry, do you have more? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Stuff. Yeah,
Oh, okay. All right. He's got a list prepared. I thought that was he was coming in strong with like a really strong recommendation. Yeah, I'm a one and done. I mean, that was me. I was a one and done kind of week. So
yeah. No, I've been
please continue.
Been trying to catch up on the Mission Impossibles too. I watched Rogue Nation so I can finally listen to that bonus episode. I really enjoyed that a lot. I know he had talked about how much you liked it before, but I really enjoyed that one. Need to finish up some G.L.O.W. Need to finish up some Luke Cage. Finish Rebels, which was incredible. You should watch it one day, Colton.
I need to finish up that last season too.
One day.
Yeah, great ending, and just a lot of implications, and just a lot of places you could take it in the future based on the ending.
Okay.
Yeah, and then just catching up on some Black Panther comics that I've been behind on.
All right, yeah.
And My Hero, of course,
All right.
but My Hero.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There was a pause, and I'm like, I don't want to cut him off again. He's on a roll.
Yeah.
So you got anything else?
Yeah, no. I think Andrew's the only one that watches My Hero Academia as well. But
Are there more
again,
episodes out past where they go to the dorms?
there's been one more, which is a pretty cool episode actually. There's a lot of action. They're creating their ultimate moves.
Oh, fucking A.
I
gotta watch it.
Highly recommend that series.
Yeah,
even if you're not big into anime, it's so good. Just the
They got
characters,
ultimate
the
moves?
storytelling. It's. I was blown away by particularly seasons 2 and 3. So good.
Who's got ultimate moves?
Everybody. They all got.
They all have ultimate moves?
Yeah, man.
Shit. I'm excited. I gotta get off this fucking thing and go watch an episode.
Go do it.
Okay, all right, that's fair.
Go do
We're almost done here. But before we do that, do you have anything else that you've been up to recently?
That I've been up to?
Yeah, you.
I watched season 1 of Penny Dreadful.
How was that?
It was alright. It was pretty good. I liked it. Thought it was alright.
Yeah, actually, even before all the shows I watched, I finished the 3rd season because I had just seen the first 2. I actually liked the show, so I would continue watching it.
Yeah, like I said, I really enjoyed the I enjoyed those characters that they cover in the show. They cover Frankenstein and his monster and Dorian Gray, and they got some vampire stuff going on. They got some werewolf stuff going on. So it's cool stuff. I don't know. I'm all about it. And what else have I been up to? I think that's almost it. Watched all the Mission Impossibles. That was a lot of fun. And I did start another anime, but I didn't quite finish the first episode, but it did seem kind of interesting. I might finish it out. I don't know how many seasons there are. It's called I think it's called Sword Art Online, I think. If anybody else knows about it.
I feel like I've heard of it, but as with most of the animes you guys talk about, no clue what it is. I think I've just heard of it.
Yeah, the premise behind this one is they got like this Ready Player One thing, that they put on their heads, and then but they like specifically made this headset for this game, and apparently the developer of the game is a crazy person and disabled the log off button. So it trapped all these people in this video game, and the only way they can log out of the game is to beat it. So if anybody takes their headset off of them in real life, they die. If they die in the video game, they die in real life. It's I don't know. Sound like an interesting premise. So we'll see what happens with that. I may or may not get back to you guys on that. I don't know.
All right.
Yeah, let me know.
Anything else?
I'm sick. I feel like shit. So aside from that,
it's a good time to catch up on TV shows, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So, anyways, that's that. That's all I got.
All right. Well, I think that is that. Thank you to our listeners for listening, and of course, thank you, Henry, for joining us. I'm starting to lose count. You've been on quite a few times, and we appreciate that. I guess maybe fifth time. 3 bonus episodes and
sounds right. Yeah,
and an Avengers appearance. Does that sound right? So this would be fifth. I mean, appropriately, an MCU appearance as well. Yeah. I think that might be your thing. We'll bring in for something else.
It's part of my it's part of the clause in the contract now for Marvel.
Yeah,
I have to talk. I have to talk about their movies and I have to say very good things and recommend them. So
you'll be getting the checks soon.
A little biased, but you know, you got to pay the bills.
That's it.
Oh, and they pay them. Dalton, thank you for making your first appearance with us here at Watch Review Repeat. I hope you enjoyed yourself. We appreciate your insight, and we certainly welcome you to join us again at some point in the future.
Yeah, thanks again for having me. I had fun, and just when something cool comes out, I'll make the time.
Yeah,
very good. If you guys enjoyed what you heard, we would greatly appreciate it if you spread the word. Patreon, I mentioned it at the beginning of the episode. Our Mission Impossible bonus episode, our 5th bonus episode, is now available to all of our Patreon subscribers, all of our supporters there, and it's a great franchise. Fallout's coming out soon. It's a great time to revisit the franchise yourself, and then it's an even better time to go back and listen to that episode. So definitely recommend you do that.
I think it's a pretty fun episode too. Yeah.
I had a blast with that. WatchReviewRepeat.com is our website for all of your Watch Review Repeat needs, including Patreon, of course. Just go to the Premium tab. And follow us on our socials. Twitter is @WRPod, and Facebook's Watch Review Repeat. Gmail account is watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com. Intro and outro track is Mechanolith by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. And our next episode, Henry, you will be pleased to hear this. We will be covering Sorry to Bother You.
Oh, very nice. Looking forward to hear your take on it.
I'm excited to hear good things. I know that critically it was very well received, and the trailer is definitely one that Andrew and I greatly enjoyed when it first came out. We talked about it on the podcast, so definitely seems like the kind of movie that we're excited to visit and react to. So that's going to be it for me. I'll let you guys take it out. If you guys have any last-minute parting words.
That's it for me.
See y'all.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Ladies on the Menjay.